The Book of the Affairs of the Days of the Kings of Judah 1 Kai 15. 7, 23, and the Book of the Affairs of the Days of the Kings of Israel 1 Kai 14. 19. 16. 14. One of the oldest extant Hebrew manuscripts containing the books of Kings in full is dated 1008 CE. The Vatican No. 1209 and the Alexandrine manuscript contain the books of Kings in Greek, but the Sinaitic manuscript does not. Fragments of the books of Kings evidently dating from the BCE period have been found in the Qumran caves. The framework of these books shows that the writer or compiler gave pertinent facts about each king for the purpose of chronology and to reveal God's estimate, favorable or unfavorable, of each king. The relationship of their reigns to the worship of Jehovah stands out as the most important factor. After considering the reign of Solomon, there is, with some exceptions, a general set pattern for describing each reign, as two parallel lines of history are interwoven. For the kings of Judah there is usually given first an introductory synchronism with the contemporaneous king of Israel, then the age of the king, the length of his reign, the place of rule, and the name and home of his mother, the latter being an item of interest and importance, because at least some of the kings of Judah were polygamous. In concluding the account for each king, the source of the information, the burial of the king, and the name of his successor are given. Some of the same details are provided for each king of Israel, but the king's age at the time of his accession and the name and home of his mother are not given. Information supplied in 1st and 2nd Kings has been very useful in the study of Bible chronology. See chronology. The books of Kings are more than just annals or a recital of events as in O textoi acute miritra longo. Kings wrote 174 ivory that he built 1 car 22. 39, are well attested by the ruins found at Samaria. The Moabite stone relates some of the events involved in King Mesh's revolt against Israel, giving the Moabite monarch's version of what took place. 2 Kai 3. 4, 5 This alphabetic inscription also contains the Tetragrammaton. The name Pekah is found in an annalistic text credited to Tiglath-Pileser 3. 2 Kai 15. 27 The campaign of Tiglath-Pileser III against Israel is mentioned in his royal annals and in an Assyrian building inscription. 2 Kai 15. 29 The name Hoshi has also been deciphered from inscriptions of Tiglath-Pileser's campaign. 2 Kai 15. 30. Ancient Near Eastern Texts, edited by J. Pritchard, 1974, pages 282-284. While some of Assyrian King Sennacherib's engagements are mentioned in his annals, the angelic destruction of his army of 185,000 when it threatened Jerusalem is not mentioned. 2 Kai 19. 35, and we would not expect to find in his boastful records an account of this overwhelming setback. Notable archaeological confirmation of the last statement in the books of Kings has been found in cuneiform tablets excavated at Babylon. These indicate that Jehoiachin was imprisoned in Babylon and mentioned that he was provided with rations from the royal treasury. 2 Kai 25. 30. Ancient Near Eastern Texts, p. 308. Fulfillments of prophecy. The books of Kings contain various prophecies and point to striking fulfillments. For example, 1 Kings 2. 27 shows the fulfillment of Jehovah's word against the house of Eli. 1 So 2. 31-36. 3. 11-14 prophecies regarding Ahab and his house were fulfilled. Compare 1 Car 21. 19-21 with 1 Car 22. 38 and 2 Kai 10. 17. What was foretold concerning Jezebel and her remains came true. Compare 1 Car 21. 23 with 2 Kai 9. 30-36. And the facts of history confirm the veracity of the prophesied destruction of Jerusalem. 2 Kai 21. 13. Among the many points highlighted in the books of Kings is the importance of adherence to Jehovah's requirements and the dire consequences of ignoring his just laws. The 2 books of Kings forcefully verify the predicted consequences of both obedience and disobedience to Jehovah God. Kings Road. The road from which the Israelites promised not to depart if allowed to pass through Edomite territory and the Amorite realm of King Sihon. New 20. 17. 21. 21, 22. 2. 26, 27. This road must have extended from the Gulf of Aqaba at least as far as the Jabbok, the apparent end boundary of Sihon's territory, and many believe that it ran as far as Damascus and generally corresponded to the paved Roman highway built by Emperor Trajan in the 2nd century CE with the exceptions of needed adjustments for modern traffic. The present-day road called Tariq es-Sultan closely follows the ancient Roman highway, portions of which still exist. Apparently the northern portion of this road from Heshbon to Ashtaroth was called the Way of Bashan. New 21. 33. To 3. 1. Kinsman. Sikin, kinsman. Kir. The place from which the Arameans came to Syria, although not necessarily their original home. Am 9. 7 through his prophet Amos 1. 5. Jehovah indicated that the Arameans would return to Kir, but as exiles. This prophecy was fulfilled when Tiglath-Pileser III, after being bribed by Judean king Ahaz to do so, captured Damascus, the Aramean capital, and led its inhabitants into exile at Kir. 2 Kar 16. 7-9. Isaiah 22. 5, 6 depicts Kir as readying itself against the valley of the vision thought to represent Jerusalem. This prophecy is generally understood to have been fulfilled at the time of Assyrian king Sennacherib's campaign against Judah. Because Kir is associated with Elam in this text, some have suggested that it must have been located in the same general area as Elam, of the Tigris River. Compare Is 21. 2, where Elam's known geographic neighbor Media is similarly coupled with Elam. The Greek Septuagint does not use Kir o textoi acute miritra longo, Kir of Moab 175 mentioned in the prophecies of Jeremiah 48. 1 and Ezekiel 25. 9 is a city of Moab that would experience calamity. Earlier, Moabite king Mesha in the 9th century BCE boasted about building Kiryat and apparently Kiriatayim. Scholars usually situate it in the area near Kiryat, about 10 km 6 mi WNW of Dibon. The remains found there, however, do not date prior to the 1st century BCE, so the exact location is uncertain. 2. A site in Naphtali given to the Levitical Gershonites 1ch6. 71, 76 and called Kartan in Joshua 21. 32. See Kartan. Kiriath Arba Kiri Middle Arba a town of Arba. The ancient name for the city of Hebron. The name was even used after the Babylonian exile. In 11. 25 This city, as its name suggests, appears to have been founded by Arba, the great man among the Anakim. Jos 14. 15. See Hebron No. 3. Kiriath Baal Kiri Middle Baal town of Baal. An alternate name for the Judean city of Kiriath Jearim. This place is usually identified with Deir Elazar Tel Koyat Yearim, about 9 km 5.5 miles of Upper Beth Horon. Jos 15. 60. 18. 14. See Kiriath Jearim. Kiriath Huzoth Kiri Middle Huzoth town of streets. A site probably located in Moab somewhere between the torrent valley of Arnon and Bamoth Baal. New 22. 36, 39, 41 Its exact location is today unknown. Kiriath Jearim Kiri Middle Jea Middle Rim town of forests. A Hivite city associated with the Gibeonites Jos 9. 17, also known as Baal Jos 15. 9, Baal Judah 2 6. 2, and Kiriath Baal Jos 15. 60. Kiriath Jearim later came to belong to Judah and bordered on Benjamite territory. Jos 15. 1, 9. 18. 11, 14. JG 18. 12 Apparently descendants of Judah through Caleb settled there. 1 ch 2. 3, 50, 52, 53. In the 12th century BCE, sometime after being returned by the Philistines, the ark was taken to Kiriath Jearim at the request of the men of nearby Beth Shemesh. It apparently remained there until it was moved by King David to Jerusalem some 70 years later. 1 6. 20. 7. 2. 1 ch 13. 5, 6. 16. 1. 2ch1. 4. Jeremiah's contemporary, the prophet Urijah, was the son of Shemaiah of Kiriath-Jearim. 26. 20 descendants of those who had lived in the city were also represented among those returning from Babylonian exile. As 2. 1, 2, 25. NE 7. 6, 7, 29. Deir Elazar Tel Kiryat Yearim is the place commonly suggested as corresponding to the biblical description of Kiriath-Jearim as a city of the Mount Venus region. Jos 15. 48, 60 on the border between Judah and Benjamin in the vicinity of the other Gibeonite cities. This site is strategically situated atop a hill about 14 km 8.5 mi of Beth Shemesh and about 13 km 8 mi WNW of Jerusalem. This location approximately fits Oisbus place in Kiriath-Jearim once as 9 Roman miles 13 km. 8 mi and another time as 10 Roman miles 15 km. 9 mi from Jerusalem. Also, the fact that Deir Elazar lies in what at one time seems to have been a well-wooded region accords nicely with the name Kiriath-Jearim, town of forests. Kiriath-Sana Kiri Middle-Sana town of Sana. An alternate name for DEZEMBER, the Judean city assigned to the Aaronic priests, about 13 km 8 mi of Hebron. Jos 15. 49. 21. 13. 15. Some consider Kiriath-Sana to be a copyist's error in the spelling of Kiriath-Sefer. See DEZEMBER No. 2. Kiriath-Sefer Kiri Middle-Sefer town of the book. The ancient name of DEZEMBER, a priestly city in the territory of Judah, about 13 km 8 mi of Hebron. Jos 15. 15, 16. 21. 13, 15. JG 1. 11, 12. CD Burno. 2. Kir of Moab. An important city of Moab, probably a one-time capital. The Aramaic Targum consistently refers to Kir of Moab, Kir Hareseth, and Kir Hazes Karak, indicating that these are but alternative names for the same place. Kir of Moab is therefore usually identified with modern Karak. Issa 15. 1. This city is situated on a small plateau over 900 meters, 3,000 feet above sea level, and about 35 kilometers 22 Otextoi Acute Miritra Longo, Kish 176 King of Edom, and some suggest that this is alluded to at Amos 2. 1. But this is less likely. Isaiah's prophecy indicated that the Moabites would mourn for Kir Hareseth's raisin cakes, perhaps a principal product of the city's trade. Issa 16. 6, 7. Isaiah also spoke of his being boisterous like a harp over Moab and Kir Hareseth. As the strings of a harp vibrate with sound, so Isaiah's inward parts were moved by the message of woe for Kir Hareseth. Issa 16. 11. See also Job 48. 31, 36. Kish. 1. Amorite Levite who was the son of Mahli and brother of Eleazar. As Eleazar died without sons, having had only daughters, the sons of Kish took these heiresses as wives. One of the sons of Kish was Jerahmeel. 1 ch 23. 21, 22. 24. 29. 2. A Benjamite. The son of Jael and his wife Maacah. 1 ch 8. 29, 30. His brother Ner was the grandfather of Saul, Israel's first king. 1 ch 9. 35-39. Apparently Kish's father Jael was also called Abiel. See Abiel number 1. 3. A Benjamite who was the father of King Saul. 1 14. 51. Act 13. 21. He was a wealthy member of the family of the Madrites. 1 9. 1. 10. 21. This Kish was the son of Ner and grandson of Jael, thus being the nephew of the Kish mentioned above and the brother of Abner. 1 ch 8. 29-33. 9. 35-39. However, 1 Samuel 9. 1 calls him the son of Abiel, apparently using the term son to represent him, not as the immediate son of Abiel Jael, but rather as his grandson. The home of Kish was evidently at Gibeah, in Benjamin 1 10. 26. although his burial place was in Zlo. 2 Sa 21. 14. The only event mentioned in the Bible regarding Kish concerns his sending his son Saul and an attendant out to search for some lost asses. 1 Sa 9. 3, 4. 4. Elvite of King Hezekiah's time. Son of Abdi of the sons of Merari. Kish was one of the Levites who helped to cleanse the temple in the first year of Hezekiah's reign. 2 Ch 29. 1-5, 12-17. 5. A Benjamite ancestor of Esther's cousin Mordecai. As 2. 5-7. Kishi Kushai, shortened form of Kushiah. Apparently the same person as the Merarite Levite Kushiah, father of the musician Ethan. 1 Ch 6. 19, 44. 15. 17. Kish and Kishai Middle. A boundary city of Issachar assigned to the Gershonites. Jos 19. 17, 18, 20. 21. 27, 28. Kadesh, found at 1 Chronicles 6. 72, appears to be an alternate name for Kishan. See Kadesh No. 3. Kishan, torrent valley of Kishon. A stream identified as the Nara El Markat Nehal Kishan. The Kishon winds its way in a northwesterly direction from the hills near Ta'anak through the plain of Jezreel, or Esdrel and Amek Yisrael, and, after flowing through a narrow gorge between Mount Carmel and a spur of the Galilean hills, enters the plain of Akko before finally emptying into the Mediterranean. The airline distance from the Kishon's sources to its mouth at the Bay of Akko is about 37 kilometers 23 mi. Approximately 6 meters 20 feet wide in the spring, the portion of the Kishon flowing through the plain of Jezreel increases in width by some 3 meters 10 feet in the western section of the plain. The Kishon's greatest width of about 20 meters 66 feet is reached in the plain of Akko. With the exception of about the last 10 kilometers 6 mi of its course, the Kishon is usually dry during the summer. But in the rainy season it becomes a rushing torrent, flooding its banks and sweeping everything in its path. The plain through which the Kishon flows then becomes a marshy region. In the time of Barak and Deborah, the torrent valley of Kishon figured in the deliverance of the Israelites from Canaanite oppression. Barak and his troops took a position on Mount Tabor, this action drawing army chief Sisera, with his well-equipped forces and 900 chariots, to the Kishon. JG 4. 6, 7, 12, 13. The Israelites appeared to be at a military disadvantage. Yet, when directed to do so, Barak and his 10,000 men descended from Mount Tabor to engage the enemy in battle. Jehovah God then intervened. From Otex to Acute Miritra Longo, Kite 177 later, during the reign of Israel's king Ahab, the prophet Elijah slaughtered 450 prophets of Baal at the torrent valley of Kishon. 1 Kai 18. 22, 40. The waters of Megiddo JG 5. 19 and the torrent valley that is in front of Jokneam Jos 19. 11 are considered to be the Kishon. Kiss. In biblical times the act of kissing or touching one's lips to those of another PR 24. 26, to another person's cheek, or, in an exceptional case, even to his feet. 7. 37, 38, 44, 45, served as a token of affection or respect. Kissing was common not only between male and female relatives. GE 29. 11. 31. 28 but also between male relatives. GE 27. 26, 27. 45. 15. X 18. 7. 2 So 14. 33 It was likewise a gesture of affection between close friends. 1 So 20. 41, 42. 2 So 19. 39. Kissing might accompany a blessing. GE 31. 55 Aged Israel, or Jacob, kissed and embraced Joseph's sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, before blessing their father and them. GE 48. 8-20 When the patriarch later finished giving commands to his 12 sons he expired, and Joseph fell upon the face of his father and burst into tears over him and kissed him. GE 49. 33. 50. 1 Samuel kissed Saul when anointing him as Israel's first king. 1 Samuel 10. 1. A fond greeting included kissing, perhaps accompanied by weeping and embracing. GE 33. For the father of the returning prodigal of Jesus Christ's illustration fell upon his son's neck and tenderly kissed him. Luke 15. 20 Kissing also went with a loving farewell. GE 31. 55. Ru 1. 9, 14 When the Apostle Paul was about to depart from Miletus, the older men of the Ephesian congregation were so moved that they wept and fell upon Paul's neck and tenderly kissed him. Act 20. 17, 37. The Bible makes brief reference to kisses associated with love between the sexes. 1. 2. 8. 1 In giving advice to guard against the devices of a wicked woman, the book of Proverbs warns of the seductive kiss of a prostitute. PR 7. 13. Kisses could be hypocritical. Absalom, shrewdly seeking power, kissed men who drew near to bow down to him. 2 Samuel 15. 5, 6 Treacherous Joab's kiss meant death to unsuspecting Amasa. 2 Samuel 20. 9, 10 Also, it was with a deceitful kiss that Judas Iscariot betrayed Jesus Christ. Mount 26. 48, 49. Mr. 14. 44, 45. False worship. Kissing as an act of adoration towards false gods was forbidden by Jehovah, who mentions 7,000 men who did not bend the knee to Baal and kiss him. 1 Kings 19. 18 Ephraim was reproved for making idols and saying, "Let the sacrificers who are men kiss me calves." Ho 13. 1-3 The Greeks and Romans had the practice of throwing a kiss with the hand to their idols, if these were inaccessible, and in this way they also greeted the rising sun. Job 31. The 27th of May allude to a similar idolatrous practice. The Holy Kiss. Among early Christians there was the Holy Kiss. Row 16. 16. 1 Co 16. 20. 2 Co 13. 12. 1 Th 5. 26 Or Kiss of Love 1 Pe 5. 14. Possibly bestowed on individuals of the same sex. This early Christian form of greeting may correspond to the ancient Hebrew practice of greeting one with a kiss. Though the scriptures provide no details, the holy kiss or kiss of love evidently reflected the wholesome love and unity prevailing in the Christian congregation. Job 13. 34, 35. Figurative use. Kissing, as representing a demonstration of respect and devotion, is mentioned in the inspired advice to serve Jehovah with fear and kiss the Son, that he may not become incensed and you may not perish from the way. PS2. 11. 12 Persons responding favorably and submitting to the one God appoints as king, and his kingdom will realize great blessings when it can be said. Righteousness and peace. They have kissed each other, because the connection of the two will be as evident to all as is the close association of affectionate friends. PS 85. 10. Kite Heb. I middle dot yar, black kite. Da middle dot r, red kite. And perhaps di middle dot yar, gold, likely a variety of kite. Theotextoi acute miritra longo, Kitrin 178 Job uses the black kite as an example of superior sharp-sightedness, while showing that man's ingenuity and his search for wealth lead him into underground paths that even the far-seeing birds of prey cannot see. Job 28. 7. Most black kites pass through Palestine to spend the winter in Africa. An increasing number winter in Israel. They build their nests in the forks of tall trees and store food in the nest before laying eggs. The red kite, a rare winter visitor, is a reddish-brown bird, barred with black, with a greyish-white head. Kitron Kitron from a root meaning make sacrificial smoke. A city from which the Zebulunites failed to expel the Canaanite inhabitants. JG 1. 30 Although various sites have been suggested, none is certain. This ancient city in Zebulun may be the same as Kathath. Jos 19. 15. Kittim Kittim. Kittim is listed as one of the 4 sons of Javan, although the name appears only in the plural form in all scriptural references. GE 10. 4. 1ch1. 7. The name thereafter is used to represent a people and region. Josephus Jewish Antiquities, I, 128-6, 1 refer to Kittim as Chethemos and associated it with Cyprus and with the name Chethim given by the Hebrews to all islands and to most maritime countries. The ancient Phoenicians referred to the people of Cyprus as Kitti. Modern authorities generally agree with such identification of Kittim with Cyprus. The city of Kishan City on this coast of Cyprus is best known as a Phoenician colony, and so some scholars have viewed the listing of Kittim among the descendants of Japheth as out of place. GE 10. 2, 4. 1ch1. 5, 7. However, the evidence shows that the Phoenicians were relative latercomers to Cyprus, and their colony at Kishan is considered to date from only about the 9th century BCE. Thus, after the New Encyclopaedia Britannica 1987, Volume 3, p. 332 identifies Kishan as the principal Phoenician city in Cyprus, it adds. The earliest remains at Citium are those of an Aegean colony of the Mycenaean age c. 1400 to 1100 BC. See also Volume 16, p. 948. That Kittim may embrace other areas in addition to the island of Cyprus is indicated by Josephus' statement, quoted earlier, about the Hebrew usage of the term as embracing other Mediterranean islands and countries bordering the sea, Cyprus being but the nearest to Palestine of the Kittim lands. This seems to be borne out by the references to the islands or coastlands of Kittim at Ezekiel 27. 6 and Jeremiah 2. 10. Some commentators consider that Kittim is also used in this larger sense at Numbers 24. 24, where the prophet Balaam, who lived contemporaneously with Moses, foretold that ships from the coast of Kittim would afflict Assyria and Eber, but that the attacker would eventually perish. This view would allow for the attack perhaps to originate from the sea-coast region of Macedonia, from which country Alexander the Great advanced, conquering the land of Ashur-Assyria but Babylonia along with the Medo-Persian Empire. Others suggest that the attackers were Romans from the Mediterranean coastlands of Italy. The Latin Vulgate uses Italy in place of Kittim at Numbers 24. 24, and the Targum of Enkelos reads Romans. But the apocryphal book of 1 Maccabees 1. 1, JB uses Kittim to represent the land of Macedonia. In Isaiah's pronouncement against Tyre, Kittim, likely Cyprus, is the point at which the eastbound ships of Tarshish receive the news of Tyre's downfall, and the virgin daughter of Sidon is told by Jehovah to cross over to Kittim itself, in a vain effort to find refuge. Isla 23. 1, 11, 12. This is in harmony with the historical evidence for Phoenician colonies in Cyprus at the time of Isaiah's prophesying c. 778. A 732 BCE? An inscription of Sennacherib relates the flight of King Lully of Sidon to the island of Nana Cyprus as the Reblakite. A bird not suitable for food, according to Textoi acute Miritra Longo, Neil 179. Salt of the Assyrian attack. Ancient Near Eastern Texts, edited by J. Pritchard, 1974, pages 287, 288. Similarly, many from Tyre evidently sought haven in Cyprus during Nebuchadnezzar's 13-year siege of Tyre, in fulfillment of Isaiah's proclamation. Final mention of Kittim by that name comes in Daniel's prophecy of the rivalry between the king of the north and king of the south, where an attack by the king of the north is thwarted by the ships of Kittim. Da 11. 30. See Cyprus. Kneading trough. A shallow and generally portable bowl-shaped vessel. It was usually made of wood, but sometimes was earthenware or was made of bronze. In it flour and water were mixed and worked into dough. In preparing leavened bread, the mass was usually leavened by working in a piece of dough saved from a previous baking. The mass of dough was left to rise in the kneading trough before baking. G 18. 6. 1 Sir 28. 24. The usual method was to knead the dough with one's hands, though the Egyptians also used their feet at times, when kneading dough in a large trough. Ho 7. 4. The size of the kneading bowl, or trough, varied considerably. However, one earthenware type often used was a bowl approximately 25 cm 10 inches in diameter and about 8 cm 3 inches deep. Bread was an important part of the Hebrew diet and was baked regularly. Hence, The kneading trough was an essential item among the Israelites and other peoples of antiquity. The frogs that covered Egypt during the second blow brought upon it by Jehovah in Moses' day entered their homes and were even found in the kneading troughs. X 8. 3. The Israelites, later leaving Egypt hurriedly, carried their flour dough before it was leavened, with their kneading troughs wrapped up in their mantles upon their shoulder. X 12. 33, 34. Since the kneading trough was an important vessel in their home, having to do with the preparing of the daily bread, Jehovah's blessing upon it evidently signified an assured sufficiency of food in their home, while his curse upon it represented hunger. De 28. 1, 2, 5, 15, 17. Kneel. This joint in the leg is important for support of the body. Hence, wobbling or enfeebled knees portray weakness. And knocking knees, fear. Job 4. PS 109. 24. Issa 35. 3. Dar 5. 6. Hob 12. All except 300 of Gideon's 10,000 men bent down upon their knees to drink, apparently putting their faces down to the water. In this position they could not be alert, prepared in case of a surprise attack. They were more concerned with slaking their thirst than with the issue at hand. On the other hand, the 300 remained on their feet, picking up the water and lapping it out of their hands, alert, watchful, ready. The 9,700's negligent ones were therefore dismissed. JG 7. 3, 5-8. Figuratively, a child said to be born upon the knees of a person other than the mother, and thus enjoying that one's favor and care, was acknowledged as that person's child, or descendant, just as Bilhah's child was counted as Rachel's. GE 30. 3-6. Compare GE 50. 23. Jehovah promised restoration for his people and likened them to children of Zion, or Jerusalem, who would be fondled upon the knees, that is, well cared for, brought back into a favored state. Issa 66. 12-13. Kneeling. The Hebrew word for kneel barak possibly has the same root as the one for blessing, which may indicate that at least at times blessings were conferred upon persons while they knelt. While imploring favor, a person might kneel as an act of respect or to implore favor, as when a chief of 50 representing King Ahaziah knelt before Elijah to plead for his life and that of the men accompanying him. 2 Kai 1. 13, 14. It was on bended knee that a leper entreated Jesus to make him clean. Mr. 1. 40-42. Also 10. 17-22. During prayer. True worshippers often knelt when praying to God, this posture being a suitable indication of their humility. As 9. 5. O textoi acute miritra longo, knife 180 above every other name, so that in the name of Jesus every knee should bend of those in heaven and those on earth and those under the ground. All who gain life must bend their knees in worship to Jehovah in the name of Jesus Christ and acknowledge him as Lord to God's glory. This includes those under the ground, evidently showing that those resurrected from the grave also come under this requirement. PHP 2. 9-11. Job 5. 28, 29. F1. 9, 10. Primarily, recognition of Jehovah's supremacy and sovereignty is required of those desiring divine favor. Jehovah has declared, "By my own self I have sworn that to me every knee will bend down." Issa 45. 23. Row 14. 10-12. Appropriately, therefore, the psalmist fervently urged fellow Israelites, "O come in, let us worship and bow down. Let us kneel before Jehovah our Maker." PS 95. 6. See attitudes and gestures. Knife. A singly or double-edged cutting implement. Knives used in biblical lands in times past were made of stone, particularly of flint, copper, bronze, or iron. The Hebrew term ma'amidal.akleth, which literally refers to an instrument for eating, is also applied to large knives such as those employed in cutting up the carcasses of sacrificial animals. A slaughtering knife heb. Akleth was the instrument faithful Abraham took in hand when about to sacrifice Isaac. GE 22. 6, 10, and the same type was used by a certain Levite to cut the body of his dead concubine into 12 pieces. JG 19. 29 also, Proverbs 30. 14 speaks of a generation whose teeth are swords and whose jawbones are slaughtering knives, thus employing the same Hebrew term as a figure of rapaciousness. Flint knives were made by Joshua for use in circumcising the sons of Israel at Gibeath-Araloth. Jos 5. 2-4 Part of the Hebrew term designating these knives is cherev, generally rendered sword. Compare Jos 5. 2, ftn. The common Canaanite flint knife was about 15 centimeters 6 inches in length and had a raised center ridge and a double edge. Scribes and secretaries of ancient times used the type of knife to sharpen their reed pens and to make erasures. Jeremiah 36. 23 tells of the use of a secretary's knife to tear apart a roll of a book prepared by Jeremiah at Jehovah's direction. Many ancient knives of copper have a straight blade from 15 to 25 centimeters 6 to 10 inches in length. Some with curved tips have also been discovered. Handles were often one piece with the blade. Other handles were made of wood and were fastened to the blade. Proverbs 23. 1, 2 makes figurative reference to a knife, recommending the putting of a knife to one's throat when eating with a king, evidently emphasizing the need to restrain one's appetite in such a circumstance. Knob. An ornamental part of the golden lampstand used in the tabernacle. Designated by the Hebrew word kaf tor, or kaf tor, evidently referring to a round protrusion. X 25. 31-36. 37. 17-22 These knobs alternated with the ornamental blossoms on the main stem and on each of the 6 branches of the lampstand. Some of the knobs seem to have formed a boss, or projecting support, for these branches. They are discernible on the lampstand as depicted in the relief on the Arch of Titus in Rome, where Roman soldiers are shown carrying spoils from the temple in Jerusalem, destroyed in 70 CE. Knowledge. Essentially, knowledge means familiarity with facts acquired by personal experience, observation, or study. The Bible strongly urges the seeking for and treasuring of right knowledge, recommending it rather than gold. P 8. 10. 20. 15 Jesus stressed the importance of truly knowing him and his Father, and knowledge is repeatedly emphasized in the books of the Christian Greek scriptures. Jos 17. 3. PHP 1. 9. 2 P 3. 18. Source of knowledge. Jehovah is actually the basic source of knowledge. Life, of course, is from him on. Life is essential for one's having any knowledge. PS 36. 9. Acco textoi acute miritra longo. Knowledge 181 Faith in Jesus Christ as God's Son. He cannot grasp the real meaning of the scriptures and see how God's purposes are working out in harmony with what he has foretold. One is helped to appreciate more fully the meaning and importance of knowledge by examining the Hebrew and Greek words often translated knowledge, as well as by noting the relationship between knowledge and wisdom, understanding, thinking ability, and discernment. Meaning of term. In the Hebrew scriptures a number of words nouns that can be translated knowledge are related to the basic verb signifying know by being told, know by observing, know by personal acquaintance or experience, or be experienced, skillful. The exact shade of meaning, and often the way each word should be translated, must be determined by the context. For instance, God said that he knew Abraham and so was sure that that man of faith would command his offspring correctly. Jehovah was not saying simply that he was aware that Abraham existed, but, rather, that he had become well acquainted with Abraham, for he had observed Abraham's obedience and interest in true worship over many years. GE 18. 19, NW, La. GE 22. 12. Compare Jehovah early use of the name and its meaning. As with the verb know, the principal Hebrew word rendered knowledge is the basic idea of knowing facts or having information, but at times it includes more than that. For example, Hosea 4. 1, 6 says that at a certain time there was no knowledge of God in Israel. That does not mean that the people were not aware that Jehovah was God and that he had delivered and led the Israelites in the past. 8. 2. But by their course of murdering, stealing, and committing adultery, they showed that they rejected real knowledge, because they were not acting in harmony with it. Ho 4. 2. This sometimes denotes sexual intercourse, as at Genesis 4. 17, where some translations render it literally new KJ. Rs. Ro, whereas others suitably say that Cain had intercourse with his wife. At Mo. In W the Greek verb nosko is used similarly at Matthew 1. 25 and Luke 1. 34. After Adam and Eve ate the forbidden fruit ge 2. 17. 3. 5, 6, Jehovah said to his associate in creative work Joe 1. 1-3. Here the man has become like one of us in knowing good and bad. Ge 3. 22. This apparently did not mean merely having knowledge of what was good and what was bad for them, for the first man and woman had such knowledge by reason of God's commands to them. Furthermore, God's words at Genesis 3. 22 could not pertain to their now knowing what was bad by experience, for Jehovah said that they had become like him and he has not learned what is bad by doing it. PS 92. 14, 15. Evidently, Adam and Eve got to know what was good and what was bad in the special sense of now judging for themselves what was good and what was bad. They were idolatrously placing their judgment above God's, disobediently becoming a law to themselves, as it were, instead of obeying Jehovah, who has both the right and the wisdom necessary to determine good and bad. So their independent knowledge, or standard, of good and bad was not like that of Jehovah. Rather, it was one that led them to misery. 10. 23. In the Christian Greek scriptures there are two words commonly translated knowledge, gnosis and *sis. Both are related to the verb no-sko, which means know. Understand. Perceive. The way this verb is used in the Bible, though, shows that it can indicate a favorable relationship between the person and one he knows. 1 Co 8. 3. 2 19 Knowledge gnosis is put in a very favorable light in the Christian Greek scriptures. However, not all that men may call knowledge is to be sought, because philosophies and views exist that are falsely called knowledge. 1 T6. 20 The recommended knowledge is about God and his purposes. O textoi acute miritra longo, knowledge 182 Putting on the new personality and in gaining peace. Col 3. 10. 2 P1. 2. Related attributes. Frequently in the Bible, knowledge is linked with other attributes such as wisdom, understanding, discernment, and thinking ability. PR2. 1-6, 10, 11 Grasping the basic differences between these greatly illuminates many texts. It is to be acknowledged, though, that the original words involved cannot be said to match invariably certain English words. The setting and the use of a word affect the sense. Nonetheless, certain interesting differences emerge when one notes the Bible's references to knowledge, wisdom, understanding, discernment, and thinking ability. Wisdom. Wisdom is the ability to put knowledge to work, or to use it, the intelligent application of learning. A person might have considerable knowledge, but not know how to use it because of lacking wisdom. Jesus linked wisdom with accomplishment in saying, Wisdom is proved righteous by its works. Mount 11. 19 Solomon asked for and received from God not just knowledge but also wisdom. 2 Ch 1. 10. 1 Chi 4. 29-34 In the case of two women who claimed the same child, Solomon had knowledge of a mother's devotion to her child. He displayed wisdom by using his knowledge to settle the dispute. 1 Chi 3. 16-28 Wisdom is the prime thing, for without it knowledge is of little value. PR 4. 7. 15. 2 Jehovah abounds in and provides both knowledge and wisdom. Row 11. 33. Ches 1. 5. Understanding. Understanding is the ability to see how the parts or aspects of something relate to one another, to see the entire matter and not just isolated facts. The Hebrew root verb bin has the basic meaning separate or distinguish, and it is often rendered understand or discern. It is similar with the Greek miles thus at Acts 28. 26 quoting Isaiah 6. 9, 10 It could be said that the Jews heard but did not understand, or did not put together. They did not grasp how the points or thoughts fitted together to mean something to them. Proverbs 9. 10, in saying that knowledge of the Most Holy One is what understanding is, shows that true understanding of anything involves appreciation of its relation to God and His purposes. Because a person with understanding is able to connect new information to things he already knows, it can be said that to the understanding one knowledge is an easy thing. PR 14. 6 Knowledge and understanding are allied, and both are to be sought. PR 2. 5. 18. 15. Discernment. A Hebrew word frequently rendered discernment to view middle.na is related to the word by middle.na, translated understanding. Both appear at Proverbs 2. 3, which the translation by the Jewish Publication Society renders. If thou call for understanding, and lift up thy voice for discernment. As with understanding, discernment involves seeing or recognizing things, but it emphasizes distinguishing the parts, weighing or evaluating one in the light of the others. A person who unites knowledge and discernment controls what he says and is cool of spirit. PR 17. 27 The one opposing Jehovah displays lack of discernment. PR 21. 30 Through his Son, God gives discernment, full understanding or insight. 2T2. 1, 7, NW, NE. Thinking ability. Knowledge is also related to what is sometimes translated thinking ability Heb. Mezim middle.ma. The Hebrew word can be used in a bad sense: evil ideas, schemes, devices, or a favorable one: shrewdness, sagacity. PS 10. 2. PR 1. For thus the mind and thoughts can be directed to an admirable, upright end, or just the opposite. By paying close attention to the way Jehovah does things and by inclining one's ears to all the various aspects of His will and purposes, a person safeguards his own thinking ability, directing it into right channels. PR 5. 1, 2 Properly exercised thinking ability, harmonious with godly wisdom and knowledge, will guard a person against being ensnared by immoral enticements. PR 2. 10-12. O textoi acute miritra longo, Kalea 183 Kurakaewa. A people or region mentioned with P code and Shora at Ezekiel 23. 23 and foretold by Jehovah to supply part of the enemy forces that would assault unfaithful Jerusalem and Judah. Kol was probably located near Babylonia and has been generally linked with the Kutu, a people who resided near the Tigris on the steppes between the Upper Adim and Yala rivers. The Kutu are frequently coupled with the Sutta, perhaps the Shoravez 23. 23 in Assyrian inscriptions, such records showing them as fighting against Assyria. Kohath Kohath. The second named of the 3 sons of Levi. GE 46. 11. X6. 16. 1 Ch 6. 1 in father of Amram, Shah, Hebron, and Uzziel. X6. 18. U3. 19. 1 Ch 6. 2 He was the progenitor of the Kohathites, one of the 3 main divisions of Levites. U3. 17. 27 He was likely born in the land of Canaan and is listed among the 66 souls who came to Jacob into Egypt. GE 46. 8, 11, 26. See, however, Benjamin number 1. Kohath's descendants included Moses, Aaron, Miriam X6. 18, 20. New 26. 58, 59, and rebellious Korah. New 16. 1-3 Kohath lived 133 years. X6. 18. Kohathite Kohath middle-dot of belonging to Kohath. A descendant of the family head Kohath, who was one of the 3 sons of Levi. GE 46. 11. New 26. 57 The Kohathites or sons of Kohath were divided into 4 families, these being descendants of the 4 sons of Kohath: the Amramites, the Shaharites, the Hebronites, and the Uzzielites. New 3. 19, 27. Their chieftain at the time of Israel's encampment at Mount Sinai 1513 BCE was Elizaphan the son of Uzziel. New 3. 30. Moses and Aaron were Kohathites of the Amramite family x 6. 18. 20. Rebellious Korah was a Kohathite of the family of the Shaharites. New 16. 1. As was the faithful prophet Samuel. 1 1. 19, 20. 1 ch 6. 33-38. The census taken in the wilderness of Sinai revealed that there were 8,600 males a month old and upward belonging to the families of the Kohathites. New 3. 27, 28. According to some manuscripts of the Greek Septuagint, the figure is 8,300. When the smaller number is added to the 7,500 and the 6,200 of Numbers 3. 22, 34, the sum total is 22,000. The very figure found in Numbers 3. 39. Their males between 30 and 50 years of age who entered into the service group for the service in the tent of meeting numbered 2,750. New 4. 34-37. During the wilderness trek, the Kohathites were assigned to camp on the east side of the tabernacle. New 3. 29, between it and the encampment of the tribes of Reuben, Simeon, and Gad. New 2. 10, 12, 14. The Kohathites had the privilege and responsibility of transporting the Ark of the Covenant, the table of showbread, the lampstand, the altars, and the utensils of the holy place, as well as the screen of the most holy. New 3. 30, 31. After these items were packed and covered by Aaron and his sons, who were also Kohathites. The Kohathites other than Aaron and his sons were not allowed to see the utensils even for a moment, or to touch the holy place, for doing so would mean death. New 4. 4-15, 20. Though Israel provided the Levites with cattle and wagons for transporting the tabernacle equipment, the Kohathites were not given any. Doubtless because of the sacredness of their burdens, they carried their loads on their shoulder. New 7. 2-9. They were the last of the Levites to pull away from an encampment. New 10. 17-21. After the conquest of Canaan, when the Levites were assigned certain cities, the Kohathites received 23. The sons of Aaron, that is, the Kohathites, were assigned 13 cities out of the territories of Judah, Simeon, and Benjamin, and the rest of the Kohathites were assigned 10 other cities from the territories of Ephraim, Dan, and the half-tribe of Manasseh. Jos 21. 1-5, 9-26. 1 ch 6. 54-61, 66-70. Heman, a Kohathite of the family of Shah, was given a position by David in connection with the singing at Jehovah's sanctuary. 1 ch 6. 31-38. 100 and O text to acute Muritra longo, Korah 184. Jerusalem's destruction in 607 BCE. 29. 21. See Ahab no. 2. 2. A Benjamite and apparent ancestor of a certain Salu residing in Jerusalem in Nehemiah's day after the Babylonian exile. Any 11. 4, 7. Korah possibly, bald. Baldness. 1. One of Esau's 3 sons by his Hivite wife Oholibamah. Born in Canaan prior to Esau's withdrawal to the mountainous region of Seir. GE 36. 2, 5-8, 14. 1 ch 1. 35. Korah was a sheik of the land of Edom. GE 36. 18. A sheikh Korah is listed at Genesis 36. 16 as a son of Eliphaz and grandson of Esau. However, the name does not appear among the descendants of Eliphaz at Genesis 36. 11, 12 or 1 Chronicles 1. 36. The Samaritan Pentateuch omits the name at Genesis 36. 16, and some scholars suggest its appearance in the Masoretic text may be the result of a copyist's error. 2. One of the sons of Hebron of the tribe of Judah. 1 ch 2. 43. 3. A Kohathite Levite of the family of Shah. X 6. 16, 18, 21. 1 ch 6. 1, 2, 22 Amminadab was perhaps an alternative name for Shah. During Israel's wilderness trek, Korah rebelled against the authority of Moses and Aaron, doing so in league with the Reubenites Dathan, Abiram, and On, as well as 250 chieftains of the assembly or men of fame. New 16. 1, 2 They contended that the whole assembly are all of them holy and Jehovah is in their midst, asking, Why, then, should you lift yourselves up above the congregation of Jehovah? New 16. 3-11 Moses later sent to call Dathan and Abiram, but they refused to be present, thinking Moses had no right to summon them. New 16. 12-15 Korah, his assembly, and high priest Aaron were told to present themselves before Jehovah, all supplied with fire holders and burning incense. New 16. 17. The following day Korah and the 250 men with him, or carrying fire holders with burning incense, stood at the entrance of the tent of meeting with Moses and Aaron. Jehovah's glory appeared to all the assembly, and God spoke to Moses and Aaron, telling them to separate themselves from the midst of the assembly, that I may exterminate them in an instant. However, Moses and Aaron interceded for the people, and God then directed Moses to have the assembly get away from the tabernacles of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram. This was done. New 16. 18-27 Shortly thereafter, the earth proceeded to open its mouth and to swallow up them and their households and all humankind that belonged to Korah and all the goods. They and all that belonged to them went down alive into Sheol, and the earth covered them over. New 16. 28-34 Those who were before the tent of meeting with the incense-filled fire holders did not escape, for a fire came out from Jehovah and proceeded to consume the 250 men offering the incense. New 16. 35 Korah himself was with them at that time, and thus perished in that fire from God. New 26. 10. The fire holders of those who conspired with Korah were made into metal plates with which to overlay the altar. This was done because they presented them before Jehovah, so that they became holy. And they should serve as a sign to the sons of Israel. New 16. 36-40 Despite this powerful evidence of divine judgment, the very next day the whole assembly of Israel murmured against Moses and Aaron, complaining, You men, you have put Jehovah's people to death. This gave rise to indignation on God's part, and despite the pleas of Moses and Aaron, 14,700 died as a result of a scourge from Jehovah, halted only after Aaron made atonement for the people. New 16. 41-50 Thereafter, Aaron's priestly position was confirmed by the budding of his rod. New 17. That the sons of Korah did not follow their father in rebellion seems apparent from the Bible record, for it states, However, the sons of Korah did not die. New 26. 9-11 Korah's descendants later became prominent in Levitical service. Seeker-Write. The writer of the book of Jude linked Cain, Balaam, and Korah au text to acute miritra longo Laban 185 men who joined him at Ziklag. 1 Ch 12. 1, 6 The Levitical singer Heman and the prophet Samuel were Korah's 1 Ch 6. 33-38, and King David organized members of Heman's family as singers. 1 Ch 15. 16, 17. 16. 37, 41, 42. 25. 1, 4-6 Korhites were among the gatekeepers for the house of Jehovah 1 Ch 26. 1-9, 19, and in Jehoshaphat the Levites of the sons of the Kohathites and of the sons of the Korhites rose up to praise Jehovah the God of Israel with an extraordinarily loud voice, because of promised deliverance from the combined forces of Moab, Ammon, and Seir. 2 Ch 20. 14-19. The superscriptions of Psalms 42, 44-49, 84, 85, 87, and 88 specifically mention the sons of Korah. Though their forefather had been rebellious, Jehovah did not hold the sons of Korah accountable for his error, and because of their faithfulness they were blessed and honored with temple service. Kakari. 1. A Kohathite Levite of the sons of Asaph and a descendant of Korah. X 6. 16, 18, 21. 1 Ch 9. 19. 26. 1 Shalom, one of the doorkeepers of the tent, is described as the son of Ker, the son of Abiasaph, the son of Korah, at 1 Chronicles 9. 19. This text does not mention all the generations between Shallum and Abiasaph, but the names given belong in this one genealogy. 1 Chronicles 26,